Good morning and welcome back to Cityline. I just turned to our guest and said, hey, it's the farmer's market day. We got to go to the farmer's market. Joining me is someone who I've loved her for years. She is just a sublime human being. And I don't get to see her a whole lot, so when I do, it's always like a squeal and a hug and I jump around. I'm talking about Karen White, who is the Deputy Director of the YWCA here in Pierce County. And I usually don't get to have you as much as I want because there's usually a CEO in place that hides you away from me. But I get to have you today on the comfy couch, which is so fabulous, my dear. Thank you. All right, tell us about, for somebody who perhaps moved here 6 months ago, is renting an apartment across from Stadium Thriftway, and they're thinking, the YWCA, where is the YWCA? So give us the history of the Y here in Tacoma.
Sure, so the YWCA has been in Tacoma since 1906, chartered in 1910. It's a very long-standing organization. Our main office building is in a historic building that was built as a YWCA back in 1927. So we've been down on 4th and Broadway all those years, and we've expanded our campus now to have affordable housing on our campus, as well as our counseling center in a new building, and then our shelter building. So it's been a lot of growth in the 22 years that I've been there. And then we have done a breadth of social services in different varieties over history, starting with social fitness programs for women and girls back in 1927. Our building has a pool. It doesn't have water in it anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, many people learned to swim there. But you know, women couldn't go to the YMCA or other places for fitness activities back then. And so that's how it started in the current spot. But we've really now focused on social services for survivors of intimate partner violence and their children. So that's all of our programming is focused on safety, healing, and empowerment.
So let's transition to those services, because I always feel like this is really the meat of what we want to share. If one of our viewers needs immediate help with domestic violence or a related situation, how do they reach your 24-hour hotline?
Yeah, so the hotline is staffed 24/7 with our advocates, and that is at 253-383-2593.
Well done.
And for some people who might prefer email, they can also email crisis@YWCA Pierce County, it's all spelled out one word, .org. And that's another way to reach the trained advocates who can help assess a situation, offer resources, do safety planning, and then also if someone's looking to do an intake for our emergency shelter, they can go through that process with them as well.
Yeah, and that last piece is the piece I kind of wanted to talk about, because I remember before COVID, right when we shut down in that March area, I think I had your former CEO, Miriam Barnett, on the couch, and we were talking about actually, it wasn't on the couch. We were Zooming. We were already sheltering in place, about how we had to look at domestic violence different when we're sheltering in place. And that was that the people who are getting hurt are being controlled in their home. Their computers are being watched, their phones being watched. And so you started putting what up in grocery stores?
We have our crisis line number on different like little tearaway cards. So someone could get that number in like a very small way that could be hidden, that could support their safety, but still understand that the resource is there for them.
Yes.
And so we're happy to provide those still to anyone who wants them, whether it's brochures or for libraries, for example, or community centers, tearaway posters. Bathrooms are a great place to put those because people can access that information privately. But it is really important. I think that's one thing to know, is that even if you aren't experiencing intimate partner violence yourself, but you know someone who is, you can also call the crisis line and just find out like what are helpful things to say or what are resources that you could offer. Most people in that situation first contact a friend or family member reaching out for help before they would contact a social service agency or even call 911. So if friends and family are equipped with information and resources, it's also a really helpful way to support survivors.
Yeah. When I think about, I love that you said survivors, because they are warriors, survivors. When I think about the people that are in those situations, and I think about them talking to family members, What advice do you have for friends and family members if suddenly I'm meeting my friend at Starbucks and we're sitting down and my friend takes off the hat and there's a black eye? What do I do?
I think the first thing to know is it's okay to feel uncomfortable in that situation, because most people do, because a lot of times these are things that historically haven't been talked about. So the main thing is to work past that discomfort and be willing to say, like, what happened to you? I'm really concerned about your safety. The other thing is to not blame victims, because a lot of times people, even with good intentions, ask questions that can come across as blaming, like, well, why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
It's not safe sometimes to leave, and actually DV homicide happens more often when people are trying to leave or have left, because it's all about power and control, right? So when an abuser feels the control slipping away, they may escalate their tactics. So it's really important to let just people know that you're there for them in a non-judgmental way, and then ask them what would be helpful to them.
Yeah.
Because they will know what's best for them, what's safe for them, what they're ready to talk about. But just opening the door to let someone know, hey, I'm a safe person you can talk to. I'll keep your confidentiality. I'll support you in ways I can. I'll help you with resources if I can. It can be a first step. It's not an immediate process for someone to acknowledge what's happening and then to take action afterwards. It can take a few days. It can take a few years.
Yes.
And it's important to be patient.
That's it. Patient and trust, and just continue to keep your eye on keeping these people safe. COVID numbers, Karen, are starting to rise again. Oh, and so are you providing in-person services for somebody who is in a stressful situation and wants to knock on your door?
We are mostly doing services in person by appointment. We do have a few sort of drop-in hours, but it's important to call first, and then we can figure out what program is best going to serve someone's needs. But we are doing in-person children's services again, which is great to see the littles back in the building.
Yes.
And we're doing our summer programming right now, so they have all kinds of fun things planned for kids for the summer. And then appointments with community advocates, legal advocates, counseling can be a choice for the person, whether they prefer a virtual appointment or in person. And then we've started with one in-person support group now, and we still have 2 virtual groups, and at some point we'll expand in person and also continue to offer virtual. Learning virtual options for people, which we were quickly forced to do in the pandemic, has actually been a great thing, because we've been able to adapt in ways that reduce barriers for people who might not have childcare or transportation or things like that. So it's great to give options.
It is. I mean, when I was talking with Miriam about the little pull tabs that have your crisis number on them, she's like, because sometimes the grocery store is the only place they can go alone. And I thought that is so genius, because during COVID, we only went out to get groceries and come back in. That's the only place we went. So good on you. Let's talk about, in these last few minutes, you recently celebrated your Join Us for Glam 2022 Illuminating Empowerment. Give us a recap of the event. How did it go?
It went really well. It was very interesting to try to go back in person after being virtual for 2 years. And also, we're pretty short-staffed right now. As everyone knows, it's kind of hard to hire. So we had to be very strategic. We had to cut a lot of expenses and completely rethink the format of certain things, because we just had to do that in order to do the event. So there was some pretty big changes this year, but overall it went really well. And we really focused on our mission and including community art, because art is such an important thing we do.
Art heals.
It totally heals, and we do a lot with art for kids and adults therapeutically in our programs, and so that was a big focus as well. And that part went, people love the art, so that was really great.
I love that. Well, and this is such a great event too, because it just brings everybody together and time to brag about the why and to hug each other. So it's a great one for that. Let's talk about, you mentioned something just now about how it's hard to hire. Are there volunteer opportunities at the YWCA for folks that have time?
We're trying to grow that again. We have done not a lot with that during the pandemic because of obviously social distancing and reduced programming other than virtual and things like that. But we are bringing that back. And if people are interested, they can definitely call our main office number and inquire about that. Right now we have some volunteers who make dinners on Monday nights for shelter families.
Nice.
And so that's a volunteer opportunity that's always kind of fun, and you could do it once a month or you could do it however often, but it's a thing that really is a great support to the families.
Gosh, I could see people I work with, my little group, going, okay, we're going to go and we're going to make dinner every Monday night together, and who's bringing what, and What a great way to get the community involved.
Yeah, we've been able to partner with Feed 253 on that a lot, which is
Yes.
amazing. They're such a fantastic organization, so we're really grateful for them.
All right, last minute, let's devote this to the search for a new CEO. Give us an update, tell us what to expect. Where are we?
Our board has been amazingly thoughtful through this process, and I'm so proud of them for really taking time to consider, you know, all different structures, all different approaches. And so they've really included feedback from staff and really shaping where we want to go in our next chapter. So we'll be hiring a search firm probably by the end of this month, and then a national search will be launched in August.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's exciting.
there it is. So
Yeah.
the next time I have you on the comfy couch, it may be with somebody brand new that you're
Sure,
introducing
yeah.
to us. Because I still got to have you on the couch, Karen. You know,
Thank
I just,
you.
now that there's no one to hide you away in all your goodness, I'm like, just take a little bit longer hiring this person so I can have Karen more
Well,
often.
we would like to hire them soon, but we will also hire the right person
Absolutely.
and lead us into our next chapters and organization. So we're really looking forward to that.
So that's a date. There it is.
All
Thank
right.
you so
Thanks,
much
Amanda.
for being here today.
Of course.
All right, Kim Archer's back in the house with the Old Town Summer Concert Series. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.